Welcome to the Motivational Medium podcast. I'm Anne-Marie Lord, a psychic medium, author, and the founder of the Motivational Medium Academy. On this podcast, we'll explore intriguing topics such as mediumship, psychic abilities, and the amazing idea that we all have intuition within us. Whether you're a believer, skeptic, or somewhere in between, get ready to unlock your extraordinary potential as we discover the supernatural world together. If you want your questions featured on the show, be sure to join my tribe by subscribing to my newsletter at annemarielord.com. Let's go. Hello, my friend. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here, and I want to talk to you today about grief and mediumship. As you know, I've been writing my new book. I won't share the title just yet, but hopefully this will be out at the end of the year. I'm so excited. It made me laugh the other day when I was writing it. Someone asked me about the book and I said, I can't wait to read it, which I don't think I've ever said before. So I'm so excited putting all the blueprint together for this and working my way through the chapters. But one of the chapters I've been working on, like the whole book is going to be about mediumship and grief and navigating grief. And I wanted to share that with you on the podcast today. And I thought, what better way to share how I navigated grief at the time when I lost my mum would be to share with you chapter 8 of the Grateful 3 Approach to Life. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to talk on about grief and how we navigate it. This is something I will be talking about over the next few months, all connected with mediumship. The book, as I say, is all about grief and mediumship. However, it's about connecting with your loved ones in spirit. It's about noticing your signs. It's how I'll teach you through the works of the new book, how to connect with spirit. This isn't how to become a medium. You're not going to become John Edwards overnight or a most renowned medium that is in the world overnight. This is for every single person. I want every single person to be aware of the subtleties of when their loved ones are around, to be open to noticing the signs. When you go for a mediumship reading, I want you to be leave your skepticism at the door. Every single medium I work with, we're not really that bothered if you're skeptic or you're not skeptic. This is about you and about you receiving the best messages and the information to help you go forward. My job is about navigating people through grief, a little bit of closure and a low. That's when people come to me for mediumship readings. This is what it's all about. So I want you to be open to seeing your signs and to feeling your signs. So the book has got a big process and I'm loving writing it, but I want to bring you on the journey with me. So today I'm going to share with you a chapter from my other book, my first book, my baby, the one I'm in love with, The Grateful 3 Approach to Life. And I want to share with you chapter 8. So sit down, grab a cuppa. And if you're having an awful time with grief, or if you know someone who is, then this just might help them navigate the grief process. I'll see you on the other side. Chapter 8, The Grateful 3 Approach to Grief. Emotion gave me motion, and my learnings gave me back my life. It was October 1993, and I'd been looking after my mum for the last 4 years. She'd been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and lung cancer, and this had led to her mobility being severely compromised. It had been a long journey, a hard journey, for her and the family. She had endured several rounds of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. However, the treatment for her cancer had stopped working. There was nothing more anyone could do. We needed to prepare for the end of her life, that we knew was unfortunately imminent. I was exhausted. I'd slept most nights with my mum over the last few months. Mum slept on a chair as lying down had become very difficult due to her breathing, and I slept on the couch. However, there was something about this night that was different. I couldn't sleep. I sat in front of Mum on a small footstool and held her hand.
She looked down at me and smiled gently. Her expression was serene, and the energy around us was calm. If it hadn't been for the fact that I knew my mum was dying, I would have described the energy in the room as quite beautiful. Mum's eyes met mine, and she said in a gentle voice, almost a whisper, "My feet are cold, girl. My feet are cold." I took my socks off and slid them onto her feet, and then I lifted her feet and tucked them under my jumper, rubbing them repeatedly to get some circulation back. It was a feeble attempt to get them warm, but I knew it gave her comfort. My heart was breaking that this beautiful young woman, who'd been my amazing mum for 27 years, was dying. And despite my age, I felt like a helpless young child, wondering how I would ever cope without her. Feeling a powerful connection between us both, I spoke softly to her. My mind was telling this fragile lady she had suffered enough, even as my heart was screaming to her to stay for a while longer. Although I can't now remember what words I spoke to her, I knew this was her time, and this moment was going to change our lives forever. I continued to rub her feet, and as I did this, she gave me a breathtakingly sweet and gentle smile. My heart broke. I knew she was saying goodbye. Then her breathing changed, and within minutes stopped. My mum was gone. And although my aunt and dad were in the room, I'd never felt so scared and alone. The next few days rolled into weeks, then months. Christmas came and went in a haze. Birthdays and other memorable occasions melded together. And with each one, I began to feel more and more detached, sad, and angry at the world. I needed a distraction from my pain, something to keep me busy. So in my grief-stricken wisdom, decided to buy a small business, a corner shop, without really looking into the financial implications or physical commitment. Unfortunately, within months, the business sank quicker than the Titanic. Looking back, it was always going to. My head wasn't in the right space to function with normal daily activities, let alone juggle the pressures of embarking on building a business while raising 2 small children and working the night shift at the hospital. When the business finally collapsed and I had time to stop and reflect, I realised I was always sad. I was always angry, and I'd started having panic attacks. Leaving the house, except to go to work, was becoming a mammoth task. And being around people was becoming increasingly hard. I found myself making excuses not to go out with friends or family. This was my life, living in the emotion of grief. I didn't realise at the time that life is full of different experiences and situations come and go, teaching us lessons. The biggest of all is choice. I decided I could choose to be angry at losing my mum at such an early age, thinking about all the things we missed out on sharing, or I could remember the fun and joy we had in the early days. All I could see was what I had lost, and this got me nowhere. It made me miserable and stagnant, and I could not or refused to see what I had in my life or to be grateful for. I took the negative emotion from my journey at first instead of taking the wisdom. This only created phobias, anxieties, worry, and a fear of taking chances. I decided to look at what I had learned from this awful, hurtful time in my life. I had been the main carer for my mum throughout her illness and discovered I was brave, kind, funny and clever, and had the strength and the knowledge to know what it is like to care for someone and their families during a terminal illness. So this is what I did. I used my strength and determination to help me become a registered nurse. I then went on to specialise in palliative care. I used my pain and my emotion to give me motion, and my learnings gave me back my life. Working on releasing the negative emotion will allow you to step up again into your light. I found this hard to do in the beginning. I was supposed to be seeing what I was grateful for in my life, and all I could see was what I had lost. However, if I could not find what joy I had in my life, then there would be no way I would be able to look back at this situation and see what the learnings were. Looking back was hard, as I didn't want to face the pain of losing mum all over again, but I knew if I didn't, I could not move forward. I chose to look back and reflect on the happy times I had spent with mum instead, and this helped. Surprisingly, it wasn't as painful as I had imagined it would be. I also decided to thank her in my mind for our journey together, as I found when I was angry at life, I was also becoming angry at her for leaving. In 1969, Swiss-American psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a best-selling book on death and dying, in which she first described her theory on the 5 stages of grief: denial and isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Although grief is mainly associated with the loss of a loved one through physical death, there are many instances when one will experience grief. For example, divorce or separation of relationships, loss of family members or friends, loss of businesses or career, and loss of health. If we think about my mum's story above, I went through many different grief situations. The loss of mum, loss of routine, loss of purpose, and for each of these, I had to go through the stages. Not all people experience all 5 stages, and they don't all run in the order as above. Some people can get stuck in a specific area like I did, bouncing between anger and depression. Anger started for me quickly when I went back out into the world and found the world was carrying on as usual. Life had been forever changed for me. Nothing would ever be the same. And how could people just carry on like nothing had happened? Also, why me? And it's not fair played a big part too. Then I became scared. There was no security in the world as my mum had gone, and depression set in along with anxiety and panic attacks. The whole kit and caboodle. I swam between these 2 stages for many years. I would play the music that reminded me of my mum and cry. I would drink wine and cry again. I could not understand why I was doing this at the time. But if I look back now, I was comfortable in the uncomfortable zone, for want of a better phrase. I thought by doing this, I could look back and remember, but it was painful, far too painful to carry on this way. And then finally came acceptance. Now, this doesn't mean that I became happy overnight. Far from it. I was painfully aware in my heart and mind that she was not coming back, and I had to find a way to re-engage with life again. It took courage and at times bloody hard work. I started meeting up with friends again, pushing through my pain to say yes to invitations when I wanted to scream no. I was mindful not to get drunk and listen to music, but the most important thing was that I gave thanks for the little things, gratitude for mum and the time we spent together. Did I still have my shit days? Yes. Did I stay there too long? Yes, sometimes. I'm only human. But I started to see the light at the end of a long dark tunnel, and I wanted into the light. I owed it to myself, my family, my mum. I thought about how she had given me life. This was her precious gift to me, so I should cherish it and make it count. I owed her this. I owed it to myself. I'm not an expert on grief, nor am I trying to be. However, I know what worked for me. And the 3 things I did were face my grief, allow myself to look back. This can also be done through counselling and giving thanks for what I had and have in my life. I didn't know much about gratitude at the time, but knew that when I looked at my kids sleeping, I was happy. This is where I started, but you can find any place to start as long as you start. If we stay in the emotion of grief, we risk becoming stuck in one or more of the 5 stages of grief. However, if we start our journey and take from these learnings, then a devastating time can sometimes become your catalyst for a life fully lived. When you hear of people who survived incredible trauma, like losing a loved one or surviving cancer or life-changing illness, the majority say the same thing. I am forever grateful for my life and what I have now. They reflect on how what they've been through has made them a better person. They acknowledge that they are living life more fully and are more complete than they were before. They're grateful for the small things and find meaning where they couldn't find meaning before. As a result, they go forward with a deeper appreciation of life. When I taught palliative care to nurses, towards the end of my nursing career, this quote by Anne Lamott resonated with me and always made my heart smile. You will lose someone you can't live without, and your heart will be badly broken. And the bad news is that you'll never completely get over the loss of your beloved. But this is also the good news. They live forever in your broken heart that doesn't seal back up, and you come through it. It's like having a broken leg that never heals perfectly, that still hurts when the weather gets cold, but you learn to dance with the limp. Life continues after grief. Choose to dance with a limp. I did. The Grateful 3 approach to life. 3-step process to managing grief. 1. Stop. Get off the wheel of pain and grief. Acknowledge where you are in the cycle of grief. Like an addict who can't move forward unless they first admit they're an addict, you need to acknowledge the grief you're living in before you can move on. Allow yourself to look back through your grief to find where you are stuck in the grief groove. Where are you? Are you stuck in anger? Are you stuck in depression? Are you stuck in denial, bargaining? Giving voice to grief takes away its power. If you need help dealing with grief, you might choose to seek counselling. You don't need to do it on your own. You can seek support if you need to. Number 2, reflect. What did I learn from this episode in my life? What are the learnings? And number 3, gratitude. Life is happening for you, not to you. This was one of the hardest sentences I had ever heard. And don't forget, I was stuck in anger. So to think life happened for me just made me even more angry, until I discovered it did. I am grateful. Find 3 things to be grateful for.
Hello, my friend. Welcome back. I'm so glad you took the time to listen to that. It's quite an emotional journey. You know, grief is a process that one stage or another will be felt by every single one of us. You know, whether it's through the loss of life or whether it's through the loss of relationships or homes or jobs or career, whatever it is, we will feel the loss of grief along this journey. And as I say, I want to take you on a journey in my new book all about, and through this podcast, because I'm going to talk about all the chapters that I'm writing throughout the next few months on the podcast. So I hope you got something from that. Chapter 8, The Grateful 3 Approach to Life. If you haven't read the whole book, please jump on Amazon. It's on Audibles. Go and get your copy. This book has changed so many lives all over the world. I'm very, very proud of it. And I know it will help you navigate your journey. Have the best day, my friends. And I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this show. It's important to note that while I'm here to inspire, encourage and guide you, I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist or a doctor. Join me again in 2 weeks for more captivating revelations on the supernatural. Remember to be in with a chance to have your questions answered on the podcast. Subscribe to my newsletter at AnneMarieLord.com. Stay in the tribe to vibe. I appreciate you guys. See you next time.